and welcome to the third episode of Sense of the Earth. Today we're going to talk about a material that is very dear to my heart. Here in the studio it's still winter, but spring is fast approaching and this will open up a whole new season of floral scents. But for now we're going to talk about Santalum spicatum, Western Australian sandalwood. In sandalwood you have two very distinct species, the sandalwood from India and the one from Australia. And the one from Australia is a little less known as the Indian sandalwood. But as the Indian sandalwood is nearly extinct, I want to explore other options. And having never worked with sandalwood, once I explored this scent, I used it in my newest fragrances, Understory and Sacred Sun. So maybe you've smelled it there. Sandalwood, both the Australian and the Indian, are revered for its fragrance, but also the spiritual significance and soothing, calming spirits. And it has no top note, but it's a very fixative base note that also has its effect in the heart, where it provides a very beautiful, soft, woody, lingering scent. And let's smell together. So this sandalwood has a kind of fresh, spicy note to it. But there is a deep, creamy, mellow, almost velvety smoothness to it too. And when I smell this sandalwood, it brings me calm. It feels very soothing. And when you are composing a fragrance, this is of course something really nice to add to your fragrance as a deeper layer, secret aromatherapy, as I like to call it. Yeah, so sometimes sandalwood is referred to as a filler note, as it doesn't envelop other scents. It has a character, but it's not overwhelming. But I think it's a little disrespectful to this oil, especially because of its heritage. This sandalwood that you have in your hands, it comes from very far. It comes from the dry and arid region of the Gibson Desert. And if you've been around with Lingua Planta for a little while, you know that I think it's very important to take notice of where your materials come from. And since the Indian sandalwood is almost extinct, the Australian provides a very beautiful alternative. It has a different character, but I think it's really beautiful. And we have this wonderful partner called Dujan, which means sandalwood in native Australian. And first I'm going to show you the map to have a look where it comes from, how it grows. And I think this will be very insightful. It also explains the scent profile of the sandalwood, because it's often the very tough places for trees and plants to grow that provides for the most soothing kinds of materials. Usually to survive, a tree needs to make certain kinds of molecules that have this kind of healing effect, antimicrobial, antifungal. And to us, when we smell, for example, lavender grown on high altitude, or a sandalwood that has grown in a desert, or a pine tree that had a tough life, and then to extract the pine oil or the pine needle oil from that, it has a different kind of effect than plantation grown sandalwood. And this is coming from the wild, and it's grown in a beautiful way. I'm gonna show you how it grows, where it grows, its heritage. So let's take a virtual journey to this remote wilderness using Google Maps. I just wanted to show you the vastness of this area. The Gibson Desert, you can see it here. It spans between the Kumpupatil Lake, Lake McDonald's, along the Tropic of Capricorn, south of the Great Sandy Desert, east of the Little Sandy Desert, and north of the Great Victoria Desert. It's more than 3.5 times the size of the Netherlands, 155,000 square meters. So, navigating through Google Maps, you can see that despite the harsh conditions, the Gibson Desert teems with life and it's adapted to its unique environment. And we see many resilient trees that have evolved via ingenious strategies for survival. And I wonder if these might be the sandalwood trees. This is also the area where the Martu people used to live. Some of them still do. And these are also the people who are the caretakers of the land. And a few of them are also employed by this Duchan company. So yeah, you can see how big it is and how long it takes before you see any signs of life. And you see the intricate patterns of red dunes, the meandering riverbeds. And you might think, hey, there's a little village, the village of Capricorn. But then when you zoom in, it's actually just a crossroad. So no life happening there. At least not Western life as we know it. So the people of Duchan, they are living in Wiluna or Wuluna. And let's zoom out first to see where it's located on the map. It's quite a long while from Perth, from other big cities, so it takes a long time to travel there. And when we zoom in at Wuluna, we can have a little look in the area. So the sandalwood tree, the Santalum spicatum, is a medium to large shrub, to 4 meters maximum, with a spreading habit and rough grey bark. The grey-green lanceolate leaves are flat with a blunt tip and up to 7 centimeters long. And lanceolate means that it looks like eucalyptus leaves a little bit. But then it has a rounded end, and I think these are sandalwood trees. Yeah, you can recognize them from this special green-gray hue. This is it. So when you smell this sandalwood oil, maybe you will encounter some very interesting facets that you didn't smell before in other sandalwood oils, especially the cheaper ones. They don't have this like huge array of multifacetedness. So when I smell this, I smell also something like buttery, very creamy, but at the same time something dry and dusty, maybe almost something like mushroomy. Also, of course, when you have looked at the images of the place where it comes from, the red earth is also a prominent note. And there's some like slight florality as well. It's like kind of almost uplifting, which is rare for a bass note. Yeah, so I really urge you to take your time with this because people experience different kinds of things, and I'm very curious about your sharings. A fun exercise might be to close your eyes, inhale, and to maybe try and color this scent, or maybe you can draw this scent. Yeah, really beautiful to meditate on it as well. Okay, I hope you enjoy. So I already spoke a little bit about our partner Duchan. It won a United Nations Equator Prize as they operate sustainably, prioritizing the preservation of sandalwood ecosystems. So Clinton Farmer, who is one of the owners of Duchan, and I'm proud to call him my Instagram friend now, he said the following about it. The sandalwood tree in Australia is culturally important, a sacred tree valued by indigenous people who harvest it, and it has its role in medicine and ritual. It grows on their homeland, which is in the Gibson Desert, and it's been part of their people for generations, thousands of years. Duchan was a dream of Clinton's father, and his wish was to have a native-owned organization to secure his people's caretaking of the land for the generations to follow. This dream came true, and the result is now in your heads. When the independent contractors of Duchan harvest, they do it in a sustainable way, so it will be there for the future. And Clinton says that as indigenous people, they've always harvested sustainably and have been sustainable in how they do things. As sandalwood is special to their culture and they've used it as medicine, they want to make sure that it will be there forever. So when they burned the branches on the fire, it gave up loads of heat. It kept people warm, healthy, and comforted. When they breathe in the sandalwood, it calms them and protects them from cold and flu. When the native people lived a nomadic traditional lifestyle, they didn't love the rain, just like me, and they would burn sandalwood to make the rain go away. They had a special song with it that they would sing with it, and I couldn't find this song, but I really wish I could share with it. I did find some other song and story that I shared on the Sandalwood page. You can find it below. So they would burn sandalwood, and when the smoke went up, it would be like a prayer. And then the native nomadic people would make the rain go away. I did find a song that would call on the rain, because in this dry area you can imagine rain is welcome too sometimes. So the seed was also used when the old native people used to fight, and if there was a skin infection, then they would turn the sandalwood into an aromatic paste and would use it to heal themselves. So it's part of their spirituality, it's part of their medicine, it's really part of their culture, and it's always special to them. Like the animals and plants living in this region, they vouch to always protect it so that it never becomes extinct. So around 1960, the British government and the Australian government were testing nuclear bombs in the Gibson Desert, so naturally this scared away a lot of the native people who lived there. They started moving from their homelands and scattered to the north, south, east, and west. The people of Duchan moved to Wuluna and settled there, and this is where they are still based. And out in the desert, life was very hard, the land was hard, and not much would grow on it. There are 10 deserts in Australia, and Gibson Desert is one of the driest. No permanent water, and all but the knowledge was passed on how to survive in this harsh environment. The young people, Clinton says, still have that knowledge to survive today. And the old people had to work hard and learn a new way, and to also fight to get their land back. They wanted to have their homeland back so that they could go back and reconnect to their country and their land. And this land is important to them, because without their land they wouldn't have been here today. It has taken care of them, and now they want to take care of it. Now they can continue to stay on this land because they have a way of living that also works in a modern society where money is of course a thing, but it also allows them to still find a way to be present with the place that they grew up, where they've been for centuries.
So I looked it up. It's actually more than 60,000 years.
Even more than centuries. Now they can continue to stay on the land and to be self-reliant, to harvest on their country, and to continue and caretake and practice what their people have passed on to, what his dad has taught him as well. Because Clinton's dad, he used to work with the government and then also harvested sandalwood, but the money wasn't good. But he had a dream that one day his family and the people he knew, his tribe, would have this company called Duchan, that they would be self-reliant. And working with Australian farmers and investors, Duchan has built a debt-free structure that manages Spicatan plantations that provide key environmental benefits to regional Australia. They harvest the wild sandalwood, which is this oil, but they will only take the trees that are not too young and not too old, Clinton made a special notion about the mother trees that are over 400 years old. By not clear cutting and planting the seeds, they are propagated in continuation of sandalwood trees, making sure that as stewards of the land they can be connected to this land and to continue to take care of it. And this really gives them future and hope and presence with this place that is their home. And as a perfumer, that makes me really proud to be able to work with them, because it's special that we can partner with a company that lives so far away, that take care of these trees, that make sure that it will continue to thrive, that also have their own benefits, of course, in keeping the sandalwood happy and thriving. And also the land is so big, and they're planting the seeds, and it just makes me feel really good. And I'm always a little bit careful when you work with trees. You don't want to cause deforestation or the loss of ecosystems or biodiversity, or like a bad influence on the local people. So I think this is a really good alternative for maybe other types of wood, although you can get really nice cedar wood made from like pencil shavings. Maybe I'm gonna talk about it another time. So one last thing about sandalwood that I wanted to share, or maybe two things, is that sandalwood as a tree. So sandalwood has a vampirish way of thriving, as it is a parasitic plant, meaning it derives some nutrients from host plants while also photosynthesizing independently. This adaptation allows sandalwood to survive in challenging environments by tapping into the resources of neighboring plants. While it can grow on its own, forming associations with host plants enhances its growth and survival, particularly in nutrient-poor or arid conditions. This ecological role influences the growth of host plants and contributes to nutrient cycling, so the exchange of nutrients. In cultivation, managing its hemi-parasitic nature is crucial for growth and minimizing competition with host plants. So that means that even in the plantations, you cannot just have lines and rows of sandalwood trees. It's really about finding the right combination of trees so they can have this nutrient cycle going on and support each other, but then also take from each other, which makes makes me think about the character of the sandalwood tree. While it's it has this vampirish nature, to human beings it seems full of care, of soothing, of medicine, of ritual. And when I think about the Indian sandalwood, that has its role in Ayurveda as well, in incense, lots of beautiful figurines of spiritual figures have been carved out of the sandalwood, like malas, prayer beads have been made with sandalwood, and the wood will smell for a very long time. So I would love to one day go to India and smell these figurines, I guess. So we already spoke a little bit about sandalwood's therapeutic properties. And in aromatherapy, Australian sandalwood is prized for its calming, grounding, and stress relieving effects, making perfumes infused with sandalwood ideal for promoting a sense of well-being and relaxation. The sandalwood tree that lives in the most remote desert produces the most oil when it's stressed, when the soil is dry and the living conditions are harsh. So this makes the Gibson Desert the perfect place to grow sandalwood. We often see in trees that trees under these conditions produce the most terpenes, the calming compounds that soothe us. As I mentioned, sandalwood is hypoallergenic. So I would like to close this episode with asking you to try the sandalwood on your skin. This is something that cannot be done with every natural material. You wouldn't think it, but I have the most insensitive skin. So I can basically wear anything, but I know it's not the same for everybody. So with sandalwood, it's known for not causing any allergies. So you're free in its use. And I would like to ask you to bring it into your day like this and to smell it once in a while to see how it develops. And it's really a great first aid kind of oil to have in your bag at all times. So whenever you're feeling anxious, you can just have a little sniff. You can also put it on a handkerchief. It's quite oily, so maybe not use it on a piece of fabric that you're very attached to. But otherwise, yeah, it's a great oil, and I hope you enjoy it too. Now, this is it for me for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I feel very grateful that I get to share such a great oil with you today, and that I get to work with Duchan. And yeah, have a lovely day.